Welcome to episode number 17 of the Eli Angle podcast. I'm your host, Eli Donnell. Let's dive right into what happened this week in sports. Starting in the MLB, the Pirates and Connor Griffin agreed to a 9-year extension. Exact total not known, but it's reported around $140 million. So he's just up for a week in the MLB, and he's already got himself a nice payday. The Braves, Ronaldo Lopez, and Angels, Jorge Soler, each are suspended 7 games in an unknown fine amount after their brawl Tuesday night in Anaheim. A very interesting and big brawl that happened, first big brawl we've had in a minute. Soler did play this afternoon, which is Wednesday afternoon. He hit a home run as he's appealing his suspension. Shohei Ohtani extended his on-base streak to 43 games, tying Ichiro for Japanese-born players. And some injury news. Cody Ponce will have surgery on his ACL on April 15th. He went down earlier this season. He is done for the year, most likely. Alejandro Kirk will have surgery on his broken thumb. No timetable for a return for him. Juan Soto was placed on the 10-day IL back on April 5th with a right calf sprain. He will be out for at least a week and a half. And then a Sunday Night Baseball recap. The Cardinals beat the Tigers 5-3. Ivan Herrera, a go-ahead single in the 5th to give the Cardinals the lead. Kyle Leahy picks up the win. He goes 5, gives up 5 hits, 2 runs, both earned, 3 walks, 4 Ks, and 1 homer. Riley O'Brien picking up the save. Keider Montero picks up the loss, 4 1/3, 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts. Coming up this week on Sunday Night Baseball, it's Guardians at Braves. Tanner Bybee versus Chris Sale, the Sunday Night Baseball on NBC debut. I have the Braves winning this one against the Guardians in Atlanta. Some ABS news. This is going to be my big story for the MLB this week. It's going to be the ABS, all these stats from Baseball Savant. 54% overturned, this just overall in general. 351 overturned to 302 confirmed, and 653 total attempts. And then 48% of the batters' calls overturned. That's 150 overturned, 162 confirmed in 312 attempts. And then from the pitcher side, 50%. That's 7 and 7 for 14 total. And then 59% for catchers at 194 over 133 confirmed for 327 total attempts. The Reds lead at a 69% ABS challenge success rate, and the Angels at the bottom of the barrel at 29% success rate. And then the Tigers at 90% for the fielder. The first one's for batters, this for fielders, so pitchers and catchers. Tigers lead at 90%, and Cardinals at the bottom of the barrel at 38%. That's all I got for the NHL, or for the MLB. A lot to cover in the NHL with the playoffs on the horizon. The Stars and the Wild, the first round games we will have, it will be the Stars versus the Wild, meeting in the Western Conference round 1. Should be a great series. Alex Ovechkin's future will be decided in the offseason. Not quite sure what he's going to do yet. I think he's got another year left in him. Would love to see him for another year. It's great for the NHL to have him for more time. And we got tight playoff races all throughout, starting in the Eastern Conference. 6 teams within 5 points for the second wildcard spot and the second spot in the Metro. Tampa, Buffalo, and Montreal are all tied at 102 points. Tampa holding the tiebreaker over both Buffalo and Montreal. All these stats are on Wednesday, so before most of the games have been completed. Tampa's remaining games at Montreal, at Boston, versus Detroit, and versus the Rangers. Buffalo's at New York, versus Columbus, at the Blackhawks, and then home versus the Stars to close out their season. And then Montreal have the Lightning and the Blue Jackets, and they'll head to Long Island to take on the Islanders, and Philadelphia to take on the Flyers. Into the Metro, Hurricanes are at 106 points, Penguins at 96, and Flyers at 92. Very tight race in the Metro. Carolina's at Chicago, at Utah, at Philly, at the Islanders. So Carolina is on the road the rest of the season. They have clinched the division in the West. They want that number one spot in the East. And then Pittsburgh has Devils a back-to-back against and home against the Capitals. So they'll be at home against the Capitals and then in DC, and then they'll finish at the Blues. They've clinched at least the second place spot. They have the second seed. Still looking to try and climb, maybe get some better seeding. And the Flyers will head to Detroit and then to Winnipeg, and then home against Carolina and Canadiens. Eastern Wild Card, 6 teams, all separated by 9 total points. That's going to be Boston. They have at Tampa, or home against Tampa, at Columbus versus the Devils. Senators have at versus Florida, at the Islanders, at Devils, at Toronto. The Blue Jackets are at Buffalo, at Montreal versus Boston, and then versus the Capitals. Detroit will be at Philly, at the Devils, or home against Phillies, home against the Devils. Philadelphia, not the Phillies. At Tampa Bay, and then at Florida. So they finished their season, regular season, on the road in Florida. And then the Islanders have Toronto and Ottawa and Montreal and Carolina all at home. Islanders staying home the rest of the season. Washington will head to Toronto and then a back-to-back away and home versus the Penguins and then at the Blue Jackets. So the tight race in the wild card coming down the stretch for those 6 teams. Going to be a fun one. Moving into the Western Conference in the Central Division, the Avalanche have clinched the Central, looking for the President's Cup, the number 1 seed in the NHL. They have Calgary, Vegas at home. They'll head to Edmonton and then on to Calgary again, and then they'll come home, take on the Kraken. Mentioned earlier, Stars and Wild meeting in the first round. Home ice still up for grabs. They have a big game coming up later this week. They will take on each other, and then the Stars have first Wild, first Rangers, and then they finish on the road at Toronto and at Buffalo. And then the Wild will need to pass the Stars in points to gain the home ice advantage. So Stars do have the tiebreaker. Wild going to need to pass them. They have at Dallas, at Nashville, at St. Louis, and then they'll finish at home against Anaheim. Into the Pacific, the Oilers are at 88 points, Vegas is at 80 points, and Ducks at 87 points. So the top 3 spots in the Pacific, all separated by just 1 point. Edmonton at San Jose, at Vegas, versus Colorado, and versus Vancouver. Golden Knights at Seattle, at Colorado, versus Winnipeg, and versus Seattle. The Ducks are versus the Sharks, versus Vancouver, at Minnesota, and at Nashville. That's for the Pacific, and then they have 6 teams decided by 10 points in the wild card in the Western Conference. Utah will take on Nashville, Carolina. Then they head to Calgary, home against Pittsburgh, and they'll finish the season against St. Louis at home. Nashville will head to Utah, back home for Minnesota, San Jose, and Anaheim. And then the Kings over in LA will have home against Vancouver, Edmonton, and then they're on the road to finish the season at Seattle, Vancouver, and Calgary. The Sharks, one of the youngest teams. Be great to see celebrating in the playoffs, see what he can cook up. They have versus Edmonton at Anaheim, versus Vancouver at Nashville, and then Chicago at home and Winnipeg on the road. They have 6 games still remaining, a lot to be decided for the Sharks. Winnipeg will head to the Blues, versus the Flyers, at Vegas, at Utah, and then home against the Sharks to close out their season. St. Louis Blues will have Winnipeg, and then Chicago on the road, Minnesota at home, Pittsburgh at home, and then Utah on the road. So the Blues looking to make a late playoff push. Into the stats, McDavid leads in points at 128, McKinnon in goals at 57, McDavid and Kucherov tied in assists at 84. Bouchard, for defenseman, Bouchard leads in points at 61 and assists at 43. Beckett, Seneca in goals at 23. Scott and Ivan Demidov for rookies leads in points at 61 and assists at 43. And then, I jumped around here. Bouchard leads in points at 89. Chychrun in goals at 25. Bouchard and Quinn Hughes at assists at 68. And then rookies, Demidov leads in points at 61 and assists at 43. Beckett, Seneca in goals at 23. And then Scott Wedgwood leads in goals against at 2.10 and save percentage at .918. Moving into golf in the PGA Tour, J.J. Spaun wins the Valero Texas Open by one shot over Matt Wallace at 17 under par. His third career win, his first since he won his major championship at the U.S. Open, and that amazing putt he made on 18. Masters Week is here. Augusta National Golf Club, Aaron Rai wins the par 3 contest. Augusta National Golf Club is here, and it is going to be a great tournament, I believe. Rory McIlroy defends his title, looking to go back-to-back. For the first time since 1994, there will be no Tiger or no Phil. Other notables to miss the tournament: Ricky, Joaquin Niemann, Tony Finau, Billy Horschel, Will Zalatoris, Tom Kim, and Sahith Theegala all missed and not get in. My picks to win this week: Tommy Fleetwood. He's been a pick to win a lot of years. I think he can close it out this year. Patrick Reed. Every year he plays great at Augusta. He plays great there every year. Picked up that win back a couple years ago. 2020, I believe, is when he won. Tiger put the jacket on him. He won. And then J.J. Spaun, a dark horse candidate, I believe, to win the Masters. He already won the U.S. Open. Won last week at Valero. I think he's a good pick to win this week at Augusta. Only time will tell. 4 days of great golf coming up. We will have a winner decided by Sunday. Into March Madness, Michigan beats UConn in the national championship game 69-63, the first Big Ten team to win it since 2000 when Michigan State picked up the win. Big Ten now owns football and then men's and women's basketball. They have all three. First time SEC has not had one in 8 years. SEC missing out on any champions this year. And we'll cap it off with the baseball rankings. UCLA 1, Texas 2, Georgia Tech 3, Georgia 4, FSU at 5, North Carolina 6, Oregon 7, Oregon State 7, Alabama at 8, Mississippi State at 9, Southern Miss at 10, Coastal Carolina at 11, UCF at 12, Virginia at 13, Southern Cal at 14, Auburn at 15, Oklahoma at 16, West Virginia at 17, Texas A&M at 18, Nebraska at 19, ASU at 20, Oregon at 21, Arkansas at 22, Boston College at 23, LSU at 24, Ole Miss at 25. Florida and Kentucky both miss the rankings this week. They both drop out. That's all I have for you this week on the Eli Angle podcast. I will see you next week. So long.